Hi, I'm Josh, the founder of the Accountability Group. And hi, I'm Josh. I'm also an addict. And if you've watched any of the other videos, I am no longer pounding the sugar-free Red Bulls because I found my extra strength coffee. So either way, I will be up clickety-clack programming. So now we are going to read from July 12th. The Daily Reflections. July 12th. Giving up center stage. For without some degree of humility, no alcoholic can stay sober at all. Without it, they cannot live to much useful purpose, or in adversity, be able to summon the faith they can meet any emergency. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 70. Why do I balk at the word humility? I'm not humbling myself toward other people, but toward God as I understand Him. Humility means to show submissive respect, and by being humble, I realize I am not the center of the universe. When I was drinking, I was consumed by pride and self-centeredness. I felt the entire world revolved around me, that I was the master of my destiny. Humility enables me to depend more on God to help me overcome obstacles, to help me with my own imperfections, so that I may grow spiritually. I must solve more difficult problems to increase my proficiency, and difficult problems to increase my proficiency, which I reread, and as I encounter life stumbling blocks, I must learn to overcome them through God's help. Daily communion with God demonstrates my humility and provides me with the realization that an entity more powerful than I is willing to help me if I cease trying to play God myself. Wow, so we've been dealing with a lot of humility today. Yeah, the world definitely revolved around me. Even when I was dry, like when I had those 3 years, 274 days, like I was definitely the master of my own universe in my mind. So I started up 17 companies, 15 of them failed miserably, like I had to shutter them. 2 of them had decent exits, in my opinion. But humility definitely was not my thing. And then it's interesting how like the universe figures out a way to check you and to slow you down. And I ate a lot of humble pie in 2013. Now I went off the rails for the next 4 years. Because there was something that happened to me, and I'll probably share it in one of my Josh journals or diaries that I did earlier, and I'll explain it. But yeah, I gained a lot of humility from that experience. And then I remember I was at this rehab where it finally clicked, and I wrote this letter, and I was on the beach with my group, and as I was reading it, I was just bawling profusely. It was the first time that I ever talked about it to someone other than my parents, and it was one of those things that hit me really hard. So like every July and August really messed with me. So that's why during July and August I make sure to do a 90 and 90. And my best, like July, August, September, I actually did like 147 meetings because I live at extremes, whether it was in use or it's in workaholism or it's in fellowship. So I would hit my AA meetings and then I would hit my NA meetings, and I just kept doing that for like 90 days. I thought I was gonna get to 180 by doing that, but in all honesty, I got exhausted. Like I got really exhausted. So I hit 147, and that was basically it. But humility is an interesting one. For me, I don't really, and I think I've talked about this before. I was raised Roman Catholic, and then once I got confirmed and they told me that I could make my own decisions about the church, I just was like, I'm out. because organized religion as an institution, I think, is completely different than faith. But that's my personal opinion. Humility for me, I definitely have found in nature, for sure. The ocean, the wind, the trees. But I've also found it in places like cathedrals. Like, I was fortunate enough to go to places like Notre Dame and a few other places, and it just dwarfs you. Like when I was in Egypt and saw the pyramids, when I was in Paris and saw Notre Dame, when I was in Germany and saw so many things, the gravity of it all just made me humble. Like, the world is way much bigger than me. As a side note, I've always been fascinated by orology. So the one, like, quote unquote addiction that I still have, and I've been trying to work on. I haven't bought a new watch in a really long time, but I have a pretty extensive watch collection, and they're all chronograph watches, because I like tachymeters and I like the way chronograph watches work and look. So I actually use every facet of it. But yeah, that's just a random aside. Let's get back to humility. Humility in 2017 was one of the things that I found was really, it was really hard for me, to be completely honest. Even crying on that beach was hard for me, but every July, August, and September is really hard for me. I think that's why I've been going through depression for like the last 6 weeks. I just talked to my sponsor. I tried doing like a sponsor call earlier and he didn't pick up, but he called me back. And we had a nice conversation. We're gonna, like I said, in one of these earlier videos, we're gonna go back through the steps like we've done multiple times before, and we're gonna go back to the big book, go back through the big book like we have multiple times before, because every time you read the steps and read the big book, there's like new parts of it that resonate with you. So it's fun to kind of like look at my old big books that I highlighted and annotated, and then look at my new big books and new 12 and 12s and see what I highlighted and annotated, and then kind of compare them, because it's always something different. And I think that's just something that's happened over the years. Yeah, but humility and staying humble is an important one, and that's something that I always ask for, honestly, in the morning. Patience, humility, and tolerance, acceptance, and gratitude are some of the things, like when my feet hit the floor, those are some of the first things that I am truly appreciative of and that I hope to exhibit throughout the day. But yeah, I definitely thought I was the master of my universe. I definitely was, and to a certain degree still am, a control freak. I'm definitely a type A. Yeah, I'm getting better at perspective taking, self-awareness, introspective, and allowing other people's allowing other people's opinions to be heard, and not always thinking that I'm right. Like, my way is always the right way, and that's not the case. And that was a big part of, you know, humbling myself. And I've said it before, but like, I can't see the wind, but I can feel it. I know it's there. And that's why, for me, nature is one of the big things. And sorry, I still have to keep drinking caffeine because I'm gonna be coding and designing all night on my whiteboards and then sitting in front of my computers. That being said, yeah, I hope all the newcomers have the opportunity to find humility, because I definitely had a tough time when I first started. I was impatient, I was spiteful, my skin crawled. I did not want to be at AA or NA meetings. I had no interest in having a sponsor. I was definitely one of those people who felt like it was a switch because I've stayed sober for 3 years and 274 days. That was really just my workaholism, and because I was starting up my last 2 companies. So I didn't really have a choice. Like, I was just like, I'm working 16-hour days, 7 days a week, no problem. So my workaholism, I was just dry. Like, if I could have used, I probably would have used, and I would have been back to doing all the grimy stuff that I was doing, being in places that I shouldn't be, picking up stuff that I shouldn't have been picking up, and doing things that I definitely should not have been doing. But humility taught me a lot about myself. And I hope, honestly, I hope that I'm a lot humbler now. My family and friends notice it, but it's hard for me to notice it, you know, I mean, because I'm stuck with myself every day, so like, I always need a third-party perspective to kind of get an idea of if I'm actually exhibiting humility. So I hope for all the newcomers and the quote-unquote old heads to leave comments, because you never know what's going to resonate, and you could say something that makes a difference and saves someone's life, or at least gets them through 24 hours, and that's all we really have. We wake up every morning and we're all fighting for our 24 hours. So yeah, as much as I'd like subscriptions and likes, really the comments are what's most important to me. Being able to express the things that are troubling you, or the things that are your experience, strength, and hope that could potentially save a life, because that's what the accountability group is all about, is saving lives. And realistically, to me, to be completely honest, if the accountability group can save one life, if our technology can help save one life, to me that is a huge win. So I will try to stay patient, to stay tolerant, and most importantly, I'll try and stay humble and exhibit humility throughout the day. So again, I'm Josh, the founder of the Accountability Group, and I'm also Josh, an addict. So I hope you stay safe, stay strong, and stay sober.